With the oil, it's not so bad. The first thing you need to do, basically, take your under tray off, go underneath, undo your sump plug, drain the oil into, I'm going to use this, drain the oil into this. You can buy specific pans for all of that, but you can just use anything you've got. You know, you don't have to spend any money on this. Sump plugs can be quite difficult. Sometimes they're stripped, sometimes they're incredibly tight. Some of them tend to tighten themselves over time. It's one of those things, you might have a fight with that. It's similar with oil filters, they tend to tighten themselves as well. So undo your sump plug, drain your oil into your bucket, take your oil filter off whether you've got a spin on. Some of them are in the top of the engine bay, they're easy to get to. Mine's right underneath and really awkward to get to. When you take your oil filter off, chuck it in your container with your oil just to get it out of the way. And when you put the new one on, you want to put some oil into the filter, and with the gasket on the top of the spin on, always put a little film of new oil on it, and that stops the gasket sticking to the metal and makes it easy to take it off in future. Right, so let's continue. Right, I'm underneath the van. I've got the ratchet on the sump plug here. As expected, it's tightened itself again, so I can't even get my long bar in here because there's no space. So I've got my big lump hammer and I'm going to hit it with a hammer, try and loosen it. Sometimes shocking them works better than big long bars and things, so we'll try that. Let's try that now. Ow! Yeah, she's loosened. Yeah, that's done it. And as usual, I've hit my finger. What a surprise. So now we know the sump plug is loose. That's the worst bit over, so we're all good. So now I'll get my socket off it. So next thing to do is get my bucket. And this tends to be when the wind gets up and it blows all the oil everywhere. So let's get my bucket in and I'll scoot out the way. Right, there we go. So put your bucket underneath, undo your sump plug, and all the oil should fall out. Now oil gets black because as the engine combusts in the chambers, some of that combustion, some of the carbon gets chucked into the oil. There we go. And that's why old oil is black and new oil is clean. So you can usually tell how old oil is by the colour of it and how many miles it's done. This has done about 10,000 miles, this oil. But you can just tell when they're due for a change. It's been just over a year, so it's certainly due for a change. So you just leave that to drain. Now the oil filter is now really awkward. I won't be able to show you that because it's so tucked up under here. Where my finger is here, it's in there, right up the top there, and I'm just touching it now. It's a very awkward one to get to. And that's probably why they've put a nut on the end of it so you can get a socket on it to undo it. So there we go. So basically you leave your oil to drain for as long as possible, get as much of it out as possible, and then you put the sump plug back in. Some garages will use like a tube that goes down the dipstick tube, and they will use that to suck the oil out. That's another way of doing it if you've got an oil sucker. Right, so now the oil's all drained, the next stage is to get the oil filter off. Now luckily, because it's so inaccessible, this oil filter, they put a big sort of nut on the end of it, and I've now got a ratchet with a socket on it, which is on the end of the oil filter. So now I'll attempt to unscrew it. it's tight. And then oil will drop all over me probably. It's normally what happens. It's tight. It's tight. They always tighten themselves, these oil filters, every time. It doesn't matter what it's on. They seem to tighten themselves. So there we go. It's loosening now. Ah, it's loosening nicely. In a minute there'll be a cascade of oil. When it loosens properly, I'll get this bucket underneath it and do it and take it and do it by hand. Take it off by hand. Right, that's loose enough to do by hand. So now take that off. Take the socket off, which is there. Now we'll get the bucket underneath and try and stay out the way. And we'll try and drop it all in this bucket. Doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you drop it and it goes down your arm and all over the place. So. There we go, starting to dribble down my arm. Now it's loose. Ooh. So this is probably one of the more inaccessible oil filters that I have to do with my stuff. There we go. Ah, there we go. Oil filter out. Just let that drain for a bit. So that's a removal. That's the removal of the oil filter. That's not how it will be on most cars. Most modern cars, like I've said in some other videos, have got plastic containers in the tops of the engine, and you actually do it from the top, which is considerably easier than what I've just done. So that's the oil filter out. While the oil's draining there underneath, what I'm going to do is open this oil here. I'm going to open this oil and I'm going to fill some of this oil filter up. So there's the nut on the bottom that makes it easier. There's the rubber gasket. Now you want to make sure the rubber gasket has come off with the old filter, because if you double stack the gaskets it'll leak. So what I'm going to do is basically take the bottle and start filling this with a bit of oil. You don't need to put loads in it, just enough to lubricate the engine just when it starts. Some people don't do this. I prefer to be a bit careful and do this. So right, so that will do. And now you can use a bit of the oil here. Put that round the top of there, around the top of the gasket there, just so it doesn't stick onto the metal flange on the engine. Right, so all we need to do now is go and install it. Right, so now the old oil filter's out. The new filter's got a bit of oil in it. We've checked that the gasket has come off the old oil filter with it. Now I just need to put the new filter in and torque it up, which, finding the thread is not that easy on this vehicle. So let's give that a go. Let me just wipe some of these oil drips off so we can move this bucket out of the way a bit. I'll turn it over. No. Here is our new filter, and I've got to get it right up into there, just basically by feel. I mean, lots of people use lifts and, you know, for this sort of thing, because some of these things are quite inaccessible, and this would probably be considerably easier if I had a lift. So need to try and find the thread. Where is it? That's there. Oh, I can see it there. Right, that's easier then. And you see there's oil dripping down my arm as normal. You get used to that. I'm going to drop it. It should be it there. Sometimes it takes quite a few attempts to get it in, but there we go. I've got it in. Now we just have to do it up. There we go. So the new filter's in. It's actually screwed in. Now, how tight do I do these filters? That is the question. Now, some people say hand tight. I do a little bit more than that. Should I? Probably not. But it's so difficult to get this one in and out that I don't want it to leak. So I usually go onto the thread on mine. I used to do hand tight on everything else I own if it's easy to get to, but because this one isn't, I tend to just do it up with my ratchet. I just don't want it to leak. Right, oil filter is installed. Excellent. So the next job is to go back up to the top and actually fill it with some oil. Right, now that we've drained the oil, put the plug back in, removed the old oil filter, installed the new oil filter. So now all we need to do is to put the rest of the oil in the top of the engine. So open your oil filler, which is obvious to tell because it's got the picture of an oil can on it here, always handy. Now you need to look up how much oil your vehicle takes. You can either measure it into a jug. I don't do that. I've got a rough idea how much this takes. So I usually fill up, open the 5 litre container, pour some of the oil filter, then put the rest of the 5 litres in, and then I'll top up from there because there will still be a little bit of oil left in, so it will be slightly under the capacity that the manual tells you. So what we need to do, I need to pour all the oil in there, then I'll start the engine, run it for a few minutes, let it settle, then I'll check the dipstick, and then I'll top it up to where it needs to be. So let's put some oil in. If it's easier, you can buy funnels and all sorts of things to put oil back in, but I just tend to try not to spill it. That's the cheap option. And so far, it's worked quite well for me. There's no point checking your dipstick when you haven't run it. So what we'll do, finish putting that in. Like so. It's a nice warm day today, so it's flowing lovely. So that's good. So that's done. Remember to put your cap back on. Now I'm going to go and start the engine, run it for a couple of minutes, then we'll come back, check the dipstick, and see see what level it is, and then top it up with the extra litre I've got. Right, I'm just running the engine. Just let the oil circulate, get it completely fill the oil filter. When this is done, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the under tray back on after I've checked for leaks, and then I will top the oil up. Right, now we've run the engine for a few minutes. You leave it to settle for a bit, then you pull the dipstick out. Best to have a bit of kitchen towel for this, is what I tend to use. Pull the dipstick out, clean it off, because there'll be oil all up the dipstick from where you've poured the oil in and where it's been running. Do that, put it back in to the bottom, then pull it out, and we can see that there's enough oil in it. It's about midway, so I only need to put a very small amount in. Otherwise, if you overfill it, you have to try and take some out, which is a pain. So I'm literally going to put another few hundred milliliters even. That'll probably do, and that's it. When you leave it again, check it again. If you're happy with it, you leave it alone. That's it. That's how you do an oil change.